What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Wild Card. My name is Khalil, and I'm here with
your boy Kendall. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, I ain't said that in a while. Kendall, we got a special episode that we haven't talked about the football scene. You know, people. First of all, to all y'all thought we were done. To everyone thought we were done. No, all seriousness, we appreciate your.
We appreciate y'all concern.
Definitely. Yeah. We definitely got a lot of players, alum, all you people, everyone who was supportive of us, and we're not going anywhere. Like we said, I think we ain't done yet. Okay, that's it. Thought you were gonna laugh around me or give me some type of support.
Yeah, bro, we ain't done yet. Y'all see us. We made a whole video about this already, bro. Watch that video, by the way.
Watch the full thing because y'all got to see by a thumbnail. I guess I did a pretty good job with the thumbnail to make it, and whatever. Anyways, we're back with some Bama State football.
Man.
Kendall, we missed a 5-game winning streak.
We did.
Unfortunately, the week that we decided to record it, decided to lose.
Of course you did. Of course. That's exactly how it happens.
But, it's the last game of the season. Like Tuskegee coming here tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling about this season to this point since the end?
I'm actually very happy about how the team played, especially these last 6 weeks, or 6 games, because I said this very early on when we lost to Miles. The way that this team plays in the next couple of games is going to set the precedent for how they play the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been very easy to lose to Miles and be like, all right, well, we just lost to a D2 team that we never lost to. It is what it is.
And then continue to lose
to FAM
to lose 3 games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They could have very easily rolled over and
absolutely. And the team showed me a lot of resolve. I think give credit to coaches, give credit to the coaching staff, give credit to the players. They showed me a lot more resolve than what I expected.
Resolve, I like that word.
And and I'm proud of them for sure, because the team that we had last season, I don't think they would have done this. Not only are they finishing the season out, pretty strong, but they have overcome a lot of adversity already, and I think it sets a nice standard kind of moving forward. That all right, your non-conference schedule or your first couple of games of the season may not go the way that you wanted to go. That doesn't mean that you can't bounce back toward the end of the season.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't we end off last season on a losing streak as well? I know we lost to
FAM. Felt like it.
We lost to FAM.
Mm-hmm.
We lost to, obviously, UAPB. Mm-hmm. And I think those were the last 2 games of the season, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe 2-game losing streak because we beat Bethune. Not the point, though. So like you said, last year's team wouldn't have responded well. But I also think that's credit to Coach Robinson, the way that he is able to have grown as a coach from last year to this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the maturity of these players, because you have a lot of veterans on this team, starting with Bubba Adams. Adrian isn't a veteran, but he has veteran field experience playing. Mikey Victor, JB James Burgess. You got a lot of different players on this team who have been through a lot of adversity, and they found a way to not only come together, but put together a really good stretch of football games.
Definitely.
Even when their season even when FAMU wrapped up the East,
mm-hmm.
They still found a way to come together and put together some good football games, win the Massey Classic, going to Jackson State on their homecoming after a 3-game skid and finding a way to rewrite the ship. And I guess that leads me to our next question. We're talking about what is the biggest reason that you think that we have won? I want to go first on this.
By all means.
I think that you have to give credit to Coach Lewis
mm-hmm.
and Coach Gresham. And I also want to throw Damon Stewart in there. First of all, when I say Coach Lewis, Coach Gresham, special teams with Coach Gresham. I'm not going to lie. We've talked about this before. Obviously, with the Southern University head coaching job coming available, and it takes Southern as well. I'm sure there are going to be other job openings as well. Coach Gresham he's had a great season. I believe week before last, he was the coordinator of the week in FCS. But that special teams has won us a lot of games. And you saw this past weekend. And when you saw this weekend when they didn't perform to their standard they had been setting, we lost. They are valuable. The special teams has been our offense, and sometimes they've been our defense. And they have won us a lot of different games. And when I talk about Coach Lewis, the special teams and defense have gone hand in hand. Defense has been forcing. We've won the turnover battle almost every game this season with Adrian Maddox, Amon Scarborough, James Burgess, Bubba, forcing turnovers. I think that we found a formula and we rode that shit for 5 weeks. And credit to Damon Stewart for not turning the ball over, not putting us in positions and taking advantage, making the key throws, not turning the ball over, and being a great game manager. There's still some things that he can improve on as a player. Obviously, as we saw against Prairie View, he missed a couple throws, could have made some better reads, and his decision making could have got better. But overall, those 5 weeks that's prime Alabama State football.
I agree. I think credit is definitely due for all three of those individuals. I would like to shine a light on a specific position group that I think definitely deserves a lot of credit, and that's the offensive line.
Oh yeah, 6 straight weeks, no sacks.
We heaped a lot of blame on them for how our offense was last season. Not just us individually, but also as a collective. I think the fan base as well.
Right.
And they have been so much improved from what they were last season. And I think they deserve so much credit for that, because ultimately Damon Stewart does not play the way that Damon Stewart has played if that offensive line is not playing well.
Absolutely.
They get overlooked a lot because they're not special team, or they're not skill positions. You may not know the names on the back of the jerseys and all of this type of stuff, but ultimately that position group deserves so much credit.
When you're not hearing about them, that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
like a cornerback position.
Yeah.
When you hear his name called, it's a bad thing, but when you're not mentioned, it's positive.
Yeah, so that's a group of individuals that I definitely think deserves a lot of credit. I also think that the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit because, and I listened. Shout out to you for the coaches show, Coach Robinson. He said, I believe in the last one, that the penalties are down. One of the things that this team has done so much better of a job at is not shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to penalties.
Right.
Last season, they did it so much that honestly, in a lot of those games, you could say that we beat ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And every time that you got a momentum play, there was a penalty coming back.
Right. On both sides of the ball.
Facts. So whether it's on offense, whether it's on defense, whatever it is, or special teams, we've been cleaning that up a lot more.
Right.
And it's become something that we can hang our hat on, that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot as much. Last group I wanna heap some praise on is the special teams as a collective. I think
I give Erickson took a lot of credit as a punter.
Absolutely. He's been great. Tyree Saunders, he's been able to down the ball, and the other guys have also been able to down the ball. Special teams, you can tell when you have guys that buy into what a coach is selling when it comes
Can't
to
forget about Flash either.
Absolutely. And it's crazy to see because it's kind of the culmination of everything that these guys have done. Mm-hmm. I told you before we were talking, months ago at this point, that Flash has shown signs of being able to be a game changer at any moment. And I think this year especially, he has kind of put it all together. Mm-hmm. You saw spurts of it, or I've seen spurts of it throughout his career. But I think Robert McMahon Flash has been as essential to this special team success as any other player on the team.
Absolutely.
Like you said, Coach Gresham has those boys playing inspired football. They're on one accord, and they're willing to make sacrifices. Mm-hmm. Sacrificing your body. A lot of like blocking a punt, that can look easy sometimes, but it's not. You got guys diving on the ground, but you also got guys that are starters or stars on your defense making some of those plays, mm-hmm. blocking those kicks, putting that energy in. And that makes all the difference in the world. So absolutely kudos.
Blocking field goals that's become we've been blocking field goals since last year. It feels like every time someone kicks a field goal against us, mm-hmm. we know it's going the other way. Like we're cameramen, we go on the other side of the field because I know somebody will block this.
Absolutely, I'm about to start putting it on my parlays because it's always when it needs to happen. Right. It always happens at the right time, and ultimately, like you said, as an offense that may not always be able to get down the field as frequently as we need them to,
right?
The special teams does a great job of getting them in the position they need to be.
Now, I want to transition this conversation, talk about the offense a little bit.
Okay.
Because we talked about special teams and defense, but the offense as a whole was a question mark going into the season. We know what Bubba Adams is going to do on defense. We know Adrian Max. We know that game plan, how stout they can be. They're a top 5 defense in the SWAC. Arguably, well, not top 5, but in the country in FCS. Number 1 or number 2 in the SWAC is pick your poison with the FAMU defense. But I think that offense was always the question mark, and it still is the question mark. We talk about the Prairie View game. It gave me flashbacks of last year's games against Prairie View, against FAMU, where we can move the ball, because I think we moved the ball a lot better this year than we did last year. Last year we had stagnation. We had to, halves, and we still have halves when we won't score, like against Mississippi Valley. What do you think has been the biggest difference for us as far as being able to score in those important moments, hitting Keyshawn, or I think personally for me, I think fast starts this year. Grambling, fast start. You can feel when our momentum is going. What do you find the key to the offensive success has been?
So I would say for one, I think the way that our offense is playing. I mean, we in the quarterbacks that I've seen since I've been here, the Ryan Nettles, the Miles Crawleys, the Joe Owens, the Demetrius Davis, and now the Damon Stewarts. And the Nicolettes as well. Like, you don't see us throw the ball as much as we have been.
Right.
Regardless of what you want to say about the actual stats and how much they impact the offensive production, we're throwing the ball. Dame is throwing the ball 40 times on multiple occasions.
Mm-hmm.
He's throwing the ball 40 times, and he's good for games where he'll have 300 yards. He's good for that. And so, like, on one hand, you have a way of playing offense where we ran the ball down people's throats. Whoever the running back was, Ezra Jacory, Jawan, all of those guys, Santo Dunn, all of those guys, like, run the ball down our throats. We kind of moved away from that a little bit, and we've depended more on Keyshawn Johnson and Tyree Saunders, especially last game.
Yep.
So Isaiah Scott, all of those guys. So it's like, it's one of those things where I feel like the thought process of the offense has changed a little bit. And so you have more deep balls. You have more trying defenses, trying defenders, attacking zones, attacking man-to-mans. And it's like, ultimately, it comes down to, my guy's better than your guy, I'm going to take my guy.
Right.
We've heard Damon Stewart say that a couple of times about Keyshawn and about other guys on the team.
Keyshawn said it about himself.
Absolutely. So it's like, it's one of those things where I think the biggest difference in the offense is the way that we're more catered to the pass, but also the way that we're kind of settling down a little bit.
Right.
And we make the plays that we need to make when they need to be made.
Yep.
Ultimately, I think that's been the difference, because when you have a defense that's so dominant, that's really all your offense needs to do. And you just have to make the plays when you need to make them.
One of the things Coach Robson always talks about is week to week, the defense is they're trying to pitch a shutout every single week. And I think you can feel it when they're on the field, they're trying to pitch a shutout. And for the up until last game, I think the stat was over 10 quarters, they'd allowed 9 points. Mm-hmm. Think about that. 10 quarters, what's that, about 3-4 games? Maybe more? You'd allow 9 points.
10 quarters, 3-4 games, that's 2.5.
Okay, whatever. You get the point. We're not about to do this right now. But
Sheesh.
overall, either way, that's a telling stat.
Absolutely.
And I feel like one of the things Coach Robinson also talked about in the preseason was the fact we have more playmakers on defense that are going to get interceptions and get their hands on the ball every time on the field. And when we get behind, what do you hear Coach Robinson saying? Rip at the ball. Go rip at the ball.
And the crazy part is the defense has proven to be so good that you have guys that aren't necessarily, like, they're not starters. They're not the star players.
Ahmad wasn't the starter before the season. If I'm not mistaken, it was.
I don't believe he was. But also, you have the linebackers that's coming in and filling positions. You have the DeMarcus Cunninghams. You have the I'm trying to think of his name. It's a lot of different guys. I'm sorry that I can't remember, because it honestly and truthfully, it's a
Trey
lot
Phillips?
of 44. I can't remember his name.
Kanye Bonner.
Yeah, Kanye Bonner. But you have guys just coming in, like, automatically just making plays, and it's like, you look at the numbers and it's like, like this isn't the way that it's been in the past necessarily, because I felt like we've depended more on those stars.
Right.
We've depended more on like the Earnshaw Davises and the Keenan Isaacs. But now it's like, yo, to be honest, pick your poison. Anybody can come in.
They play better as a collective than last year's team was individual.
I agree.
I think that we started the season and it was rough. It was rough. Teams were able to run the ball, and we still struggle against the run at times. And teams were able to pick apart our zone. And you can still get one drive where, Mike in a better position, Trey or whoever is back there, I might be out of position, JB, whoever you want to pick. And they'll be able to get the one drive. And that's always the dagger. Like last game, that last drive after Tyree scored that touchdown, when they went up 21-7, that was like, okay, that's the drive. That's the one to kind of put it away. And our defense, it's always the third quarter that happens. It's never fourth. It's never early in the game. But I want to get back to the offense. Damon, one thing that separated this year's offense and last year's offense is, and I love DD, but Damon doesn't put the ball in harm's way as much, I would say. And he also gets rid of the ball. He doesn't try to do too much sometimes. I feel like D put a lot of pressure on himself because of whatever the case may be. Maybe, the receivers weren't getting open. Because I feel like Keyshawn is a lot better at creating the space and finding open holes in the defense than, a Jeremiah last year or whoever you want to say in the past. So whether that's scheme or whatever it may be, the point is it's happening. But Dame is doing a really good job at not putting the ball in harm's way.
And like you said, I don't exactly know what the biggest proponent of it is, but I will say also it's consistency.
Right.
As a quarterback, especially, you want to have a consistent – you want to – as a head coach, I'll say, or as a coaching staff, you want to throw somebody out there that is a consistent person that you throw out there. You don't want to have this person starting this game, that person starting this game, all of those type of things. In defense of Demetrius and defense of some of the quarterbacks that we've had in the past, we did not consistently put them out there the way that we put Damon out there. Granted, that may have been injuries. Granted, that may have been, stuff just isn't working, whatever it is. But ultimately, I think Damon is getting a great opportunity to start every game and build that consistency, build that chemistry with the players, but also. And he's building confidence too. I think ultimately now that okay, this is my starting spot, you can perform a little bit better. I think anybody, when you have a little bit more job security, it takes some of the pressure off. And I think that you're seeing him be more confident. You're seeing him be more comfortable. He's always been a confident dude, but now he has the opportunity to say, okay, I know what I can do. I know what the guys around me can do. Let's go to work and let's do it. And I think it's a constant thing with him, and I think it's showing in the way that our offense is playing.
It also goes back to the offensive line, because if I'm a center, if I'm an offensive line, I know my quarterback's tendencies.
Absolutely.
Last year, going from Miles to D. Now, we both of us are we still feel like D can still play on this team. Still feel like he can still compete for a job. Obviously, we wish he would have gotten more opportunity this season to show what he could do, because there's still a lot of juice in that tank. But having that consistency, knowing, okay, Keyshawn, I've been giving you the ball since FAMU. Coach Williams, I know Dame is more of an accurate passer, so I'm going to give him more balls, because he also gets more opportunity to push the ball down the field.
And that's something that Dame has been talking about since the very beginning. I mean, he said that on multiple occasions. Coach said, "All right, let's push the ball down the field."
Right.
They
did that against, what was that game? Was that Bethune-Cookman when we were struggling? And then that first drive out, they came down, pushed the ball, and then they started pushing. They won that drive. We were scoring all this. You remember what I'm talking about? I can't remember the specific game, but yeah, I remember the drive. Like it's definitely one of those things that I feel like the offense is kind of opening up a little bit more. Right. Where you can you can target certain people, or you can put certain people in different positions. Isaiah Scott and Tyree Saunders, especially last game, were proof of that. You can put these guys in certain spots, and they can make something out of nothing. Right. Or they can make something out of a 5-yard slant, and they can turn it into something. Especially with the speed that Tyree has, he can take something, like I said, like a 5-yard slant, like a wheel route, or like whatever, something in a flat or an out, and he can take it and make it something special. We saw him do that. We saw him do that on multiple occasions last game. So I think ultimately, when you talk about an improved offense, I think it's
it's on a lot of different players because players are making sacrifices now as well.
Right.
That they may not have had to make before. I think the running backs, our running production is way, way lower than it was at the beginning of the season.
We still
and
struggle
last
to
season.
run the ball, which is insane to me. Because the offensive line has improved so much. It's like they've and we weren't even a great running team last year. Like we didn't really have an identity offensively last year. But Juwan, I don't think we have a rusher that's at 500 yards.
I mean, to be honest, and I pointed this out, with the what team is that? What team is that we played? I think it was Alcorn. It might have been. It was a purple. It was a purple team.
Which we're 0-3 against. This season.
It was a purple team, but Dede was literally leading us in rushing for like the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yep.
And he didn't play in 2 games. So like
he's still a top 3 or 4 rusher when I looked at the stats last time, which is insane.
I think that all has to do with offensive identity. To me, that's one of the reasons why the offense has changed so much, because when you have a quarterback that's more of a pocket passer, it can tend to change your running game up as well.
Right.
And I think the comparison is always there just because this is one of the most famous types of offenses that's like this. But when you have a offense like the Ravens, where you have a running quarterback and you have running backs that can run as well, it makes your rushing attack that much more dangerous,
right,
in a different sense than it does when you have a regular pocket passer. So I think ultimately it's, like I said before, it's one of those things where I feel like it's a collective effort with the offense. I think they have improved more than they had last season, especially this time.
And another thing,
early on in the season as well.
I think that it's going to be a benefit going into next year too, because you're bringing a lot of these guys back. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you're bringing a lot of these guys back. Keyshawn's going to be back. Damon's going to be back. Obviously, you're going to lose Tyree, but I want to talk about something else, because obviously the news came out today that Jalen Lay will be transferring. Do you feel like we maximized our offensive potential to the fullest capability? Because before the season, let me finish. Before the season, we were talking about this receiving core being one of the best in the SWAC. So continue on what you're about to say.
Absolutely not. I think if anything, last game against Prairie View kind of proved to me even more that we have so much talent in our wide receiving core that I don't think actually gets utilized to the fullest.
Right.
Tyree is somebody that we have been talking about. We definitely talked about him last year, but especially this year, he's a player that has so much talent. And like I told you after the game, speed kills. That pound for pound, he's one of the fastest players on the field at a given time. So for me, that says we need to. Keyshawn is great, but the thing that I think our offense can fall into sometimes is Keyshawn or bust. And when it gets to that point, it's like we need to make sure that these guys, when called upon, can do what we need them to do.
And I feel like you build that confidence in these games, in these, like, early in the season, you build that
absolutely.
confidence.
And I feel like that they didn't get that opportunity because of the different QBs that they had to play with.
Right.
That's one of the downfalls of it. Ultimately, I think that paid off now that we look at it in retrospect, but those are the type of things that you have to kind of weigh when it comes to, all right, how is the quarterback situation going to work
Absolutely.
At the beginning of the season?
Because we didn't. You talked about it last year, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Jalen, but he also didn't get an opportunity this year to show what he can do. And the time he got it, he caught the ball. Still was supposed to be down. His knee was down on there.
I don't care what nobody says. Jalen has 2 touchdowns on the season.
FAMU and Alcorn.
Yeah, to me, it's one of those things that I understand. I understand in certain situations why tight ends aren't used as much. I may not be able to say, okay, when do we use the tight end, when do we not? But ultimately, I think our tight ends are assets.
The biggest dudes on the team.
Exactly. And when you have a 6'8", player, it's like, okay, like, why are we not using him?
And Kendall, we still struggle in the red zone right now.
And I think that's also, and when we watched the FAMU games, I think some of that is our play call versus their defense. There can be a lot of disconnect at times when it comes to that in the red zone.
Calls.
And I feel like when that happens, it's like, okay, what do we have to do to be better in the red zone? Like, do we have to kind of pump fake them a little bit? So do we have to run 2 runs and then run a play action?
All right.
Or do we have to run an inside zone, play action, inside zone? Like, what do we have to do to get this defense off their heels in order for us to punch the ball?
Because we can be very predictable sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows because we pretty much go. I think against Mississippi Valley, the whole second half we went. I'm sorry, I was reading the message, but the whole second half we didn't score,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw that last game we went the whole first half without scoring. Mm-hmm. So you basically essentially went 2 quarters, two halves of a full football game, scoreless, no points on the board. And like you said, we become too Keyshawn reliant, and it can be it's no shot on Keyshawn at all because we know Keyshawn is obviously
if
the best
anything,
receiver.
it's working. And I think that's the thing. When you're playing winning football, when you're able to win games, it's working.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that's not a knock on the offense. That's not a knock on their production. But ultimately, it's just saying, okay, we know that y'all still have more potential.
Because we both talked about it. We want Keyshawn to get 11 targets or at least 10 a game. But go ahead, my bad.
No, I was just saying, like, we know they have more potential. So it's not like we're saying, oh, like they're not playing well or oh this or oh that. They can always play better. It's always, you have more potential. Mm-hmm. I think you can say that about every aspect of this team. Special teams isn't always on their game. Defense isn't always on their game.
Yep.
It's not like we're targeting the offense, but ultimately, if you look at one space of improvement, offense is definitely one of them. And that's saying something because of how successful we have been offensively the last couple of games.
Absolutely. And I think that this is my last point here. We also have to start playing to the strengths of our players. I think too many times against Jackson State when AJ Gates stepped on the field, we did a really good job of putting him in space. He's a shifty guy. He can get in space. He's kind of like, I compared him to a Santo Dunn from last year from office. We missed Santo a lot. Mm-hmm. We missed the explosive plays, turning nothing into something. I don't feel like we're trying to use him you're running him in between tackles like he's Juwan Howard or he's Marcus Harris. That's not his game. His game is get me out of space, give me a screen pass. And did you see how productive he was against Jackson State when you played to his strengths?
Hey, I told you that too. Like getting him in space is definitely one of those things that can make him. That's where he's most dangerous. Whether that is a screen, whether that is a wheel, whether that is a whatever type of route you want to have him run, that's a tough ask for a linebacker to cover him when he gets in space. So I definitely agree with you on that. You introduced the last topic, so you got anything else?
Nothing on this. Circuit Day class tomorrow. All I'm gonna say is we can't lose to another Division II school.
I think that's pretty obvious. I feel like for me, it's obviously you want to win that. You want to send your seniors off well. You want to send crowd home happy and all of that type of stuff. But I think ultimately is what I want to see from this team is just putting it together. I would love to see all three phases of this team play their best.
It's time for it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, because one of the things that I've always said when it came to teams, you're never going to have the same team again. So you want to keep that in mind.
Yep. I think that in order for us to be successful tomorrow, like you said, we have to put it together. Kicking has to be great too, because kicking is what gets us in trouble in a lot of these games because we don't have any guaranteed points in our back pocket. Like there's been times against Bam, Alcorn, Prairie View, and I think that it can be a struggle for us because we can't kick. I got it, bro. I got it.
I was about to say that.
Finish up.
I don't know what to say. I don't remember the last thing you said.
You still talk.
I don't remember the last thing you said was.
Why are you waiting? I'm still gonna put this in the episode, by the way.
Why? I don't remember what the last thing you said was, so like I can't go off.
The kicking. I'm talking about the kicking. I said that we've cost ourselves in the kicking game so much. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll continue. Y'all stick with it, but kicking has been a consistent problem for us. Mm-hmm. Field goal kicking specifically. And one of the things Coach Robinson has said, and he has echoed, Every single week he's been at ASU. If you can't kick, you can't win.
I totally agree with you. Kicking can be the difference in the game. Not even necessarily when it comes down to the final kick. You leave points on the board at any time. You leave points on the board, so it's like it's always important. To, like you said, focus on having a good kicking. I mean, ultimately, like I said, it's the last game of the season, so
it'll be a Saturday tomorrow. Saturday tomorrow, seeing Bubba and some of our favorite singers, departing us. But I'm excited for the future. We're not going to talk about next season yet because
we still got a whole season recap to talk about. So
absolutely. So that being said, I was going to talk about some of the things that are going on around this slab. I think we can say that for another time.
Yeah, because you're talking too much.
Yeah.
But let us know what you think. What's the biggest reason for Alabama State's winning streak? And
what's it called? The BNF? Oh, Negro Fund.
Yeah, bro, get your.
Donate to the broke college students fund. I changed it up because this is a historic Black game where it's donate to us. We need support. We're still 2 broke college students. Shout out everybody. We can't wait to see y'all the game tomorrow. We'll be on the field for senior day. So you hear him say our name. Follow Instagram Wildcard2K, Twitter Wildcard2K. Just like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.
See y'all, man.